session hosted by Fab, your insurance broker and moving to France expert. Fab is like your immigration GP. We're here to answer all your questions: visas, residency, healthcare, driving, taxes, properties, and much more. We navigate the complexities of France to help you embrace the French lifestyle you've always imagined. Although we are experts in the immigration industry and have been working in this space since 2015, none of what we say should be considered legal or financial advice. It is also worth noting that the immigration industry is an ever-evolving field, so things that are relevant today might be outdated or inaccurate when you actually move to France. Fab's main source of revenue is insurance through our brand, Fab French Insurance. Our main goal is to ultimately help you move to France, as we only sell insurance to clients applying for a visa, a residency permit, or those with a French address. During the session, you can ask any questions you want. However, we will not answer long questions to keep the pace fast. We also won't be able to address questions related to personal or very specific issues, but rest assured, we can get in touch after this session to either advise or refer you to one of our trusted partners. And now it's time to get this event started. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you find our answers valuable. Our greatest reward would be to be a part of your journey to moving to France. And hopefully, it starts with this session today. We will pause briefly to allow all registrants to join. The session will begin shortly.
And we are live. Good evening, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you're from. Thank you all for being there tonight or this morning. So we'll be talking about a bit of a specific and technical type of visa, which is the Passeport Talent. And to speak about that, I'm pleased to be with Eléonore, that you might have seen in one of a previous events. But before we get this started, so I'll be your host this evening or this morning. I'm Fabien. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the managing director and founder of Fab French Insurance and Fab Expat. And so I think let's get this started. Eléonore, if you don't mind turning the camera.
Hi, Fabien. Hello, everyone.
Good evening, Eléonore. So for the sake of this, of simplicity, let's stick to good evening for those for which is the morning. So sorry. So Eléonore, thank you for joining us. Can you tell us very quick what you do, who you are, and what your firm does?
Yeah, of course. I'm Eléonore. I'm a French immigration attorney. I'm specialized in immigration and relocation to France, and I work with Lexidy. We are a law firm that is present in various European countries and help people moving to either Spain, Italy, France, Portugal, Greece. And we try to be as much as possible a one-stop shop for our customers and provide everything that you might need during your journey to Europe and even afterwards.
Well, as always, you're being modest because you're the head of Lexidy, if I'm correct, in France.
I am, yes. We are a small law firm of 10 people now, but we are growing quite fast, I have to say.
Well, I think you're one of the busiest in France for individuals, because usually law firms that specialize on businesses or corporate, but like you like to take care and nurture individuals moving to France. So that's amazing. And we've been working together for years, so I can vouch for Lexidy and Eléonore in particular. But okay, so we got a few questions for you, Eléonore. Let's deep dive. So first, the name of this webinar is Passport Talent, but maybe although it sounds fancy, but for those who are not familiar with this, can you give us maybe like a quick overview of what a passport talent is? Why is it called this way? And, you know, why it might be appealing for some of our audience from the UK, the US, or elsewhere?
Yeah, of course. So the talent passport is a big family, and within this big family, you have a lot of different possibilities. But in order to simplify, we can say that it's a long-term visa or a residency permit that is issued by France for highly skilled professional. So it's usually designed to attract foreign talent in various fields. It can be business, technology, arts, academia, and it allows them to live and work in France with their families.
Okay. So I just remember, I always forget about that. It's just the heat of the moment. We also have Nani with us in the background. So she's not on camera, but for those of you watching from the US, she's a fellow US expat who made it to France a few decades ago. And she'll be answering your questions for, you know, things that she may address directly. So sorry, Eléonore, but I wanted to give Nani some spotlight as well. In terms of, you mentioned various categories. What would you say, you know, in your firm, or like what you see the most? Which type of talent passport do you see the most often?
Well, we have a lot of different ones, but the thing they have in common is that everyone is working. So it's mainly for workers or families of workers. And those persons can be either freelancers, company owners, or company representatives, but also employees. There are various talent passport options for employees, depending on in which fields you work, what kind of salary you have, what kind of position. So this is mainly it, but there is also another category for artists or people that are renowned in their field. It can be music, arts, or even famous CEOs. We have had a couple of very famous person from the cinema industry, so it's quite broad.
I think there's also like a category for, it's a bit of a fancy word, like entrepreneurs or people who would invest a lump sum into a business or
Sure.
something.
There are two possibilities within this talent passports category. If you're an entrepreneur, you can apply for the talent for entrepreneur visa. And in this case, indeed, you have to invest 30,000 euros in your project in France, in your future company or current company in France. And there is another category for investors, but the threshold is much higher. We are speaking about 300,000 euros. And you need also to show that you're going to create or protect jobs in France for this one.
Okay, so it's more specific, but 30,000 euros potentially
it's more feasible, yeah.
Okay. We didn't mention that, but so also, what is one of the main, well, the most important difference? Because like, why do we call that a talent passport instead of like a regular visa? Like, is it the same? Is it just like a one-year visa? I mean, what's the difference technically?
Yeah, there are a few differences, but let's say that it's a premium visa. That's what I say when I mention the talent visa. Why? Because you can bring your family with you with more facilities than other visa types. Of course, every family member needs to file their own visa application, but you have the category of family of talent passport holder. So if you're a spouse or a dependent child, you can apply for this visa. And this gives you the right to work right away, which is a big difference respect to other visa or residency permit types. So this is one thing, but then you can have more quickly than with other visa or residency permits a pluriannual residency. So usually it's up to 4 years. This does not mean that the first visa that you will get will be a 4-year visa. This usually never happens, but when you renew it in France, then you can have a 2, 3, or 4-year residency card.
But that's a massive perk because, well, for those not familiar, I mean, hopefully you're not familiar with the topic in the audience, but yes, when you go like through the regular visa process, let's say like a visitor type of visa, it's a 1-year visa, which then you'd convert into a residence permit, which also is going to be a 1-year permit. And you'll have to renew those for a few times until you get to that pluriannual, the multi-years permit, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. For instance, one of our best-selling visa is the visitor visa. So it's a very good choice as well, but you need to renew it annually, and this can create some stress, especially if you have to deal in France with the French administration. That can be a bit complicated sometimes.
That's why we have the champagne over there.
Oh, really?
To drown the sorrow away when dealing with paperwork.
Yeah, no, so yes, it's a big difference. It gives you a lot of peace of mind if you can have a pluriannual residency.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So yes, that's one of the main perks, because instead of having to wait literally for a few years until you can get a multi-years permit, potentially you can get like a 2, 3, 4 years multi-years permit right after the first year. So or even within, yeah. Okay, good to know. Well, this one is a generic question, so pick up the one that you'd like to that you prefer. But typically, what kind of documentation is required? What kind of proof do they require? I know that some of those passport talents, sometimes they refer to the reputation. Like if it's an artist. So what kind of proof do they need to provide? Like what's different compared to the regular visas again? Yeah.
Yes, well, it all depends on the category within which you fall, of course. So for the entrepreneurs, you need to show that you have a business plan, that you have a project that you're going to carry on in France. For all the highly skilled workers or the employees, well, you need an employment contract. You need to have a company that is hiring you. We need to submit a lot of the hiring documents and also check the salaries that you will receive. For all the renowned people or artists, you need to show that you are indeed known in your field, that you have some contracts, that you have some projects in France. This is important. It can be invitation letters, contracts, or anything, any proof is acceptable, but this is not the only thing. You also need to show that you have some funds and that you're making some money out of your business or your art or your company.
For the passport talent who involves you investing a lump sum, I suppose how do you prove that you will be? I mean, do you have to have invested the money, or will you have to invest the money after the application?
The two possibilities are applicable. I have clients that already own something in France. For instance, one of the most recent talent for entrepreneur visa that I've done was for someone who was creating a gîte, Airbnb, something like that, and he already purchased the property, so the amount was already there. We didn't have to invest 30 more Ks because this has already been done in the past. I also have some people that already own some companies in France that already have employees in the country. So in this case, you do not need to show more than what you already invested. But if you don't have any current project in France, this is also fine. We can either put the funds at a notary or in a banking account under your name. This is acceptable. We have many different solutions depending on the profile of the applicant.
I've seen a question from Mark, which actually I think is a good one. Thank you, Mark. Basically, Mark is saying if he applies for, like, let's say a 1-year visitor visa, can he apply for a passport talent afterwards? or like in 1 year times or upon renewal?
Yeah, actually, yes. I'm dealing currently with a lot of applications like this. Sometimes you struggle and you need to make the prefecture, so the immigration administration here in France understands that yes, this is doable. I even had to go directly to court sometimes because some prefecture were not very understandable, but the answer is yes, you can do that. This is allowed. We can always change, and this is a general rule in France when it comes to residency permit or visa. You can always switch from one to another, provided, of course, that you meet the requirements of the next visa you're applying to.
Yeah. Okay. And just, yeah, for those who don't know, prefecture in France is the place where they process, those passport talents, the business plans, and the residency permit, all of that. And although technically speaking, it shouldn't be the case, but they do have a bit of, it is quite a discretionary process. Although, again, it shouldn't be. I mean, Eleonore would not be happy with me saying that, but I mean,
No,
that's why she has to.
unfortunately, that's what I see every day. So I do agree with you.
So theoretically, it should be the law they apply, but like, yeah, well, that's why people like Eleanor exist, actually. So just a small precision. Nancy was asking, which type of visa you require 30,000 euro to invest. So that was the entrepreneur one.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so Nancy, here you go. Okay, so timelines. So
Yes.
from when, a typical visa, I mean, is something that I'm hearing a lot of the time, like you need to apply 90 to 30 days prior to the intended arrival date, things like that. But what is it with the talent passport? How long does the process typically take? Is it faster? Is it longer? Is it actually the same as a regular visa? Is there some key differences to expect?
Well, the differences are mainly the work that we're going to carry on before you submit the visa application, because depending on the visa that you're applying to and the category of the talent visa that you're applying to, you will need more or less documentations. If you have to prepare a business plan from scratch, get it examined by the administration before you apply, all this can take some time. But I would say that on average, it's 3 to 6 months for
Okay.
the whole
Okay. So
process.
yes, because it needs more preparation time in a way.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you have more documents to prepare, and yeah, it's a more complex application than a simple visitor visa.
Well, yeah. And by the way, I'm not working for Eleanor, but for passport talents, I would strongly suggest you work with a professional. So obviously an immigration lawyer would definitely increase the odds, because on the insurance side of the business, we see a lot of applicants who sometimes do the applications themselves. Actually, quite a lot of applicants and clients we deal with would end up doing that themselves, which is completely fine, by the way. But I must disclose the talent passport is the type of visa where we see the highest rejection rate when people are trying to do that themselves, because it just go all over the board. So I've seen the same question multiple times from an anonymous guest who is referring to the international reputation type of passport talent. Does that ring a bell?
Yes.
Okay. He's asking if he said, I believe I can get a 4-year pluriannual straight away with this one. Is there anything specific about this?
Be careful with the 4 years, because I have this question or this comment all the time. And honestly, I've never seen a visa last for 4 years. So you can have a 4-year residency permit after your arrival in France, but you're definitely not going to get a 4-year visa. And well, for this one, you really need to be very famous and provide a lot of piece of information and show that you are indeed very known in your field. For the artist, the requisites are a little bit more light. You just need to show that you are indeed a performer or of art and that you make some money out of it. And the threshold is very different. But usually we can start the two applications together and then see if you fit within one or the other category.
Okay, there's another question that I think is relevant, a bit technical, but I'm sure that won't be a challenge for you, Eléonore. Sorry if I mispronounce the name. Anker is asking for what sort of qualification criteria is required for exceptional talent category. For example, does having patents, publications, being a speaker at conferences, industry awards, etc., does that count?
Yes, this is definitely something that counts. Yes, if you have like some publications, some contracts, in reality, it can be any type of proof that you have. And then we submit it. And as you mentioned, there is a part of discretionary power of the administration when they process your file. But yeah, this is something that could work.
Okay. I'm digging on the questions because I see a few that I think are interesting. Stephanie is asking, I've invested in a property that could be rented commercially and has been in the past in Montmorillon. Don't know if that's the right name. Oh, someone from the Southwest, Team Southwest here. Okay, great. I'm wondering if that investment could satisfy the 30K euros investment. If I do decide to market it commercially, I'm only hesitating because I want to ensure I do not jeopardize a visitor visa if I go that route instead. Sorry.
Yes, the investment in real estate is an investment that is acceptable for the talent visa. And as we mentioned before, if you are not sure, you can also like start with a visitor and then change to a talent visa if you feel more comfortable, if your project is a bit more prepared. So this is something that a lot of our clients opt for, entering with the visitor and then changing it once in France.
Oh, by the way, yes, very interesting, because actually I've seen something. It was the first time I saw that. I mean, I've mentioned that to you, and you told me you've seen this multiple times though. But so one of our clients in the about a policy for an insurance policy for the visa application, and actually he was applying for a visitor visa, probably same thing as Stephanie, and he intended to run a JIT business, but I don't know exactly what he told them during the interview. But he probably said something like, I have enough income, but don't worry, even if I'm short, I'll be topping that up with my JIT business or rental income I'll be having in France. But he probably said something like, I'll be topping that up with my business in France. So although there's a fine line, but like legally speaking, well, Eléonore, correct me if I'm wrong, but legally speaking, they can have a rental activity on a visitor visa as long as it doesn't exceed, I think it's 23,000 euros.
There is a threshold, yes.
Yeah. But it's, don't answer questions you're not being asked. Like if you say during the interview that you apply for non-working visa and you'll be working, that might be legal because, like, for example, if you're under the threshold or something, they may hear something different and it might come across the wrong way. So it's also to answer Stephanie, that kind of stuff. She definitely or probably can apply for that visitor visa. But then, like if she goes in at the visa center, is all excited during the interview and says something like, yeah, I have a business and stuff, just be careful with what we say.
Of course. And if you know right away that that's what you want to do, you can apply for the talent visa right away. No need to wait, of course.
Saying a question that I love answering. For long-term visas, is there a limit to traveling back to the US? Say you travel back home due to having, primary home in the US. Is there any limits to how long you can travel and stay? 2 weeks per month, something like that? Or you're not limited?
Well, you have the theory and the practice, but in theory, in order to renew your long-term visa in France, you need to stay at least 6 months in a year in the country, but not necessarily continuous months. You can stay 2 weeks, then go back, come back for 1 month, etc., etc. But the rule is to stay at least 6 months.
I'd say this, because of the question, there's a bit of a catch in that question, I'd say, because you say, like, say you travel back home due to having a primary home in the US.
Oh.
I don't really like that wording because you cannot be a main resident in more than one country. So it's either you're a main US resident or you're a main French resident, but you cannot be both. So there's one country you need to decide which one is your main country of residence, and that's the country where you're supposed to spend 6 months or more per year into. So I mean, it's not directly related to the visa, but could be, because if you've applied for a residency type of visa, well, then they expect you to be a resident. So, okay. Could an artist qualify by working in France but receiving income from galleries outside of France?
Yes, but when you file your application for the talent visa for artists, it's always important to show links with France and why you need to stay in France. If you have only projects abroad, it might not look as good as if you have something in France as well.
Oh, actually, I'm jumping onto one of my questions in my list as well. How does the talent passport impact someone's ability to work? Can they all mean you're allowed to work, or just some?
That's a good question, Fabien. Well, the talent passport is designed to carry on the type of work that has been accepted. So if you applied for the entrepreneur talent, you need to work as a freelancer or like working in your company. If you apply for, I don't know, EU blue card or highly skilled employee residency permit, you need to work with the contract that has been approved. And this is a common mistake that I see, because sometimes people change jobs, they change employer, and they do not notify the administration. And this is not a good situation, because your residency permit, when you have a talent passport, is linked to your employment contract or your employment status. If you change, you need to change your visa.
Oh, okay. So you need to inform them. Okay. And when you say informing the authorities, I suppose you mean reaching out to the prefecture, the guys you love.
Yes, yes, yes. No, it's super important. I have this issue all the time with people that are highly qualified. They change jobs a lot. And since they have the right to work, they don't think that they have to do anything else. And their new employers don't think as well, because it's written that they can work. But this can cause a lot of issues when you renew your permits.
Geoff, jumping in another question. Geoff is asking, as a business analyst working freelance over the last 23 years, would I be able to seek work in France using these skills, or would I have to have a contract in place in France to work as a freelancer, basically?
As a freelancer, there's no issue at all. But just for you to know, you don't necessarily need to invest 30K in your business in France if you want to be able to to work here as a freelancer. There are also other options that are more simple and without any investments. I do have a lot of clients that are consultants or work for themselves, and they just have the regular visa for entrepreneur, which is also a very good option, and with whom you can also have a pluriannual residency.
Yeah, because that's also the confusing thing. There is like the entrepreneur talent passport. There are also, I'd say, regular, I prefer to call them business types of visa, but like you have the entrepreneur visa, the profession libérale visa, which are a bit more, well, I wouldn't say the standard. You need a business plan, but like for a consultant, usually you might rather lean towards the profession libérale, wouldn't you?
Yes, they're not that easy actually, but at least you don't have to make the investment. So that's the main difference. And yeah, you will have a 1 year visa, but then you can renew it. And usually, from what I've seen this last year, every time we renew the 1 year classic entrepreneur visa, we get at least a 2 year residency permit. So it's a good solution.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay, let me go through our questions and then we'll jump back into the Q&As. Okay, so when someone actually gets a passport, a talent passport, well, you touched base on this renewal, but like just to demystify what the process looks like and the pathway towards residency, because I mean, talent passport is what? I mean, we're talking about like a 1-year visa, then residency. I mean, can you describe the process, in terms of what goes in when?
That's a good question as well, because I've seen a lot of mistakes here. When you apply for the talent visa, you get usually a 3 to 6 months visa, and then you have to apply for a residency permit. And this residency permit can be issued for up to 4 years. And this is where comes the usual confusion. I had a client complaining last week, I got a 3 months visa. I was expecting a 4 years. No, you will get your 4-year residency permit, but not the visa.
Okay.
And yeah, this is very important because it also happened to me that people did not look very well at their visa, and they thought that they were fine for a year, and they forgot to ask anything to the prefecture. So the difference with the talent visa, all of them, is that once you arrive in France, you have to do something. You have to get the actual physical residency permit. Which is very different than the other year-long visa types that we have.
And just because you mentioned that pluriannual permit, and what happens when it runs out? Like when you're supposed to renew that, let's say you got like your X month visa, then you converted that into that multi-year permit because so that was the talent passport you applied for. But then what about when it expires itself? Like, can you renew it? Do you still need to meet the criteria? What's the...
You have to renew it, yes, at least 4 months before the expiration date. You need to start the renewal process. And depending on your situation, if you continue to meet the requirements of your previous visa, you can just reapply for the same one. But you can also change. You are never stuck with one visa or another, or one residency permit type or another. We can always change. And also another good thing to know is that after 5 years of continuous residency in France and other conditions, of course, you can apply for a 10-year residency permit, which is the maximum that you can get in France.
Okay, oh, good to know. And actually, also, it's a question I've seen quite often, not today, but is there some talent passport that you can apply for that could lead into a multi-year permit where you would not be a French taxpayer or permanent resident?
No.
So they come together. So basically that you will be a French resident as well.
Yeah, this is important to know. Well, you need to, as long as you have a residency permit or a long stay visa in France and you stay in the country for at least 6 months in a year, you need to declare your taxes in France. Mm-hmm.
Declaring doesn't mean you'll be tax liable, then it depends on your exact situation. But yeah, okay. Erin is asking, I think I qualify for artist of international renown. Should I try for that versus regular artist talent visa? What are the pros and cons? I think it's the same thing, isn't it?
Yes, we went through that question before. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to answer Erin, like international renown artist talent visa, they're the same thing basically. Or...
No, actually, it's two different things. Yes. It's not exactly the same. When you're internationally renowned, you need to show that you have had some articles, participated in some events, any type of proof that you may think of. For the artist, it's really linked to the artistic activity. It can be like you're an author, you're a musician.
So it's easier if you're an artist to apply for the artist visa then.
Yeah, you don't need to be super famous.
Yeah, okay. So it's actually better to try to go down the artist visa rather than the... Okay. Well, hopefully, Erin, you get your question answered. Okay. Well, Kelly is asking, what are the tax ramifications if you get the investor visa but don't permanently live in France? Can you continue filing your personal taxes in the US and not in France?
Well, if you get an investor visa, you're supposed to be living in France. And in this case, I would really recommend to schedule a tax consultation with our colleague that is a tax attorney.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because it's a bit on the gray area, let's say. I mean, the rule of thumb is all those visas or talent passport. I mean, like Eleanor is saying, they're resident type of passport. That's why they give you, hence the name. They'll give you a Maltese resident permit or card. So well, then you're supposed to be a resident. There might be some very specific cases, but so the rule of thumb, I would say, is to consider that you're supposed to be there and file your taxes in France. Maybe you're in a situation where taxes are not completely all due in France, but in theory, I would rather expect they are. Julia is asking, I already own a SAS business in France and employ one person. Do I still need to submit a business plan?
Yeah, it's a formality, but your business plan will be very easy to draft.
Okay, so the answer is yes, unfortunately, Julia, because this is France. They expect you to file a complete file, and so yeah, they have to check that box, business.
Yes. Yeah, but the good news is that we can help with that. We are very used of drafting business plans, reviewing them, helping you through all this.
Oh, well, I can tell you good because we work with various providers and again, people who do apply on their own. And we have 100% money back guarantee on an insurance policy. So if the visa is denied, well, we know about it because we have to refund the policy. And what I like with Lexidy is that we don't have to refund policies. That's a good sign. Chris is asking, first to go from UK to France, you need a visa to get a TLS France in UK. Then can you renew it in the prefecture when you are in France, let's say after 6-month visa?
If you have a 6-month visa, it's not renewable. You need to apply for the 1-year renewable visa. But I've noticed that we have a lot of issues with the TLS center at the moment. They have a tendency of not issuing the visas, the renewable visa. You need to be very careful with what you say, what you provide or not during the interview.
Yeah, we're seeing that quite often as well. People who applied for a 12-month and got provided a 6, etc. Again, it's not to be selling Eléonore, but like this is why the small prints matter. The boxes you'll be checking, they do matter. So although everything is completely doable, but like the slightest mistake can have very important impact on the whole process, because again, just there's a box is just an example I'm seeing often. There's a box 6 to 12 months instead of the 12+ month, on your visa application. If you check the 6 to 12 months, you're like, this is a 1-year visa anyway. Yes, but all of a sudden it's no longer a renewable visa if you check that box, and you'll have to go back to your own country to reapply. You won't be able, even if you had technically like a 1-year visa, but it's a non-renewable one. And those type of mistake, unfortunately, I'm seeing that fairly regularly. So that's why if you can afford it, that's definitely a money and time saver to work with an immigration lawyer and reputable firms. And actually, I would also suggest work with reputable firms. There's so many scams out there. People who, just because their auntie went through the visa process and successfully, they're like, yeah, well, I know how to do it. Sometimes it's a bit more complex than that. So well, even we're seeing thousands of visas every year. I call Eléonore very often. It's like, oh, I have this client in that situation. And I'm seeing thousands of visas every year. So it is definitely a complex industry. Cornelia is asking, I'm a novelist making a living from it. Any idea what the acceptance rate is for this category?
Yeah, well, usually when people do the same activity as you, what we do is that we draft the artist and the entrepreneur visa application together, and depending on the documents that we manage to file and on how your application looks like, we redirect you through one or another.
Okay, good. Okay. Valerie is asking, I will have some small income from renting my house in the US. while living abroad. Does that count towards income? If so, is it the gross rental income, or should I show expected net income after mortgage, insurance, utilities, etc.?
Well, for the talent visa, the income that you have in the US does not really make a difference. It's more interesting if you apply for another visa type, like the visitor visa, where you have to show funds or income, and this is definitely taking into account.
And is it the gross income or the expected net income?
It's the gross. Mhm.
Okay, good. It's actually good. And by the way, for those who, it's not a topic for tonight, but like the kind of income they want you to meet is the equivalent of France minimum wage, which is roughly 1,400 euros net a month. So then you convert in your currency. Okay, Katie is asking, can adult children over the age of 18 be included and accompany a parent on the talent passport visa?
Well, if they are over 18, usually not, but sometimes we try to push the application showing that they are dependent, but the rule is no. But this is not a big problem because we have a lot of other visa options.
Oh, Dave is asking, I have a 5 years passport talent titre de séjour, which is valid until July 2026. Is there a way to renew it?
Of course, if it's a titre de séjour, yes, definitely. You can renew it, and I advise to start well in advance.
Okay. Well, Erin is asking more details on family reunification process. After this, we won't answer this question because it's off topic, but after this session, guys, I'll be sending, not this evening, it's going to be apéro time afterwards, but I'll be sending an email, so probably tomorrow, where you can reach out to me, Eléonore and her team, and you'll have contact details. So all of those questions, and I'll be sharing your questions with Eléonore if she wants to answer you directly as well. So, for those of you we can't answer, if you're anonymous here, leave your details somewhere so that we can answer your questions. And if not, we'll have your details, we can reach out, and you'll receive the follow-up email with ways to reach out to any of the panelists. Okay, so Eléonore, tell me if it's too fast of a burst, because I'm digging through the questions.
Oh, that's fine. No.
Michelle, it's a good question. Michelle is asking, is there a language requirement for the passport talent?
No, there is not. No.
We see we're very welcoming in France.
The language requirements is only when you apply for the tenure card or if you apply for nationality.
And only for certain categories, if I'm correct. Nationality, no, but for it's only for like family reunification and some particular type of.
For family reunification, there is no need to show that you have a level in France. No.
Okay. So Felicia is asking, what if you have 30K or more in the bank? Can you get a talent visa as a realtor, estate agent?
Well, if you're investing this money in France, in your future activity in France, yes.
In a French business, you mean? Yeah.
Yes.
So in the bank, just to align that, in the bank doesn't work. It has to be invested into a French business.
It has to be eventually invested in a French business, yes.
Yeah, well, it could be in the bank.
Yeah, but then once you arrive, you're supposed to invest it. Yeah.
Okay, Stacy, thank you for this webinar. Thank you, Stacy. I'm a US citizen and have a PhD in epidemiology, health science. If I have a remote job that allows me to work from France, would this be the best visa option for me?
Not necessarily. We can have other options for you. I think that maybe we can have a consultation. It depends also on what type of job that you're going to apply to and you're going to do in France, because depending on the contract, on the salary, there are many different possibilities.
Yeah, well, get in touch, because also, often, something actually I say often, you also want to make your life easier. So sometimes, like maybe you're eligible for this or that type of visa. You often are eligible to various types of visas, but some are more complex and will require more preparation. So, that's why consultation with Eléonore is super relevant because, well, she's seen a lot of scenarios. So, okay. Monica is asking, are you eligible for permanent residency faster with a talent visa versus renewing long stay visas?
Not necessarily, but keep in mind that in France, there is no permanent visa. The maximum you can get is a 10-year residency permit. But no, not necessarily. As long as you have been in France for 5 continuous years with a residency permit, you are eligible.
Oh, by the way, you said once you've been around for 5 years, you can apply for the permanent permit. Like, do they need to specifically apply for that permit, or like they apply for just like a regular renewal, but they may provide them with a permanent, like the 10 years permit, for example?
It depends on the prefecture, so the immigration administration of the place where you live. Some of them, they will process the file taking into account that you've been here for 5 years and that you could apply for the 10-year card, and they will ask you the document for the 10-year. But otherwise, you will have to ask for it specifically. And this is what I advise in any case, is to ask for it, because otherwise they might not take it into consideration.
Ankur is asking another question that I think is also a good one. For entrepreneurs, talent passport, what happens if your company fails? Like, startup obviously have risk associated with them. Does that mean the visa residency is revoked in that situation?
No. We understand that these things can happen. The important thing is that when you will renew your residency permit, we need to have a prepared application for another visa type.
Yeah. So basically, if the business fails, like they can go through their, let's say they have a 4 years residency permit, they can go through those 4 years. But in 4 years' time, if they didn't set up another business or did anything else, then yes, there might be some revoked, but like, let's say sent back or so, or like they're no longer allowed.
Yeah, the only thing with that is to be careful if you change, for instance, you start working as an employee. It's important to change your residency permit type, because either you have a residency permit for a freelance activity, either for an employee activity.
There's one that's very 2025 question. Linda is asking, if one has a small YouTube channel, so we have an influencer here. Hello, Linda. That they work on in France or such and make a small income, as well as passive income from a home in the US, well, which visa would I qualify for?
That's a good question. We would need to have a look at the documents and the numbers, but I have a client that is a YouTuber, and we applied for the entrepreneur visa and he got it without any issues. So I think that's a good starting point.
Yeah, you're right. It depends on the figures. I mean, it's not the same if they're making, like, let's say 1,000 a year, 10,000 or 100,000. Yeah. So yeah, well, Kevin is asking, for the entrepreneur visa, is there still an annual income threshold that needs to be proven before the visa is given? Moving as a couple, only one with the income.
Well, for the visa application, no. But once you're in France, in order to renew your entrepreneur visa, you need to show that you have generated at least the French minimum wage.
And then combine if they're applied as a couple.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll try to answer questions. Yeah, okay. Simon's asking, if I apply for a talent passport to run a shit business, how much do I have to earn in that business? And also, can I do other things as well?
Well, how much do you have to earn in that business? The French minimum wage. So you mentioned that before, Fabien. Today it's around 1,400 per month. And if you can do other things as well, yes, I remember we discussed this. Yes, you can. Mm-hmm.
But like Eléonore was saying, it depends what you're calling doing other things. Like if it's a business and you're employed on the side.
No, of course, but other freelance activities.
That yes. Okay, so Polly is asking, I am an established artist in the UK. I've already invested 30,000 euros in my business in terms of tools, machinery, advertising. Can these count towards the 30,000 investment required?
We can discuss this, but well, if you buy all this machinery from France, I would say yes, definitely. If you bring it to from the UK to France, we could try, but I'm not 100% sure.
Because it's like, yeah, because it's very specific for that in France. We have something called un commissaire aux apports. So when it's not cash you're bringing, usually we're supposed to have this valued by someone else who's supposed to be officially valued, so that otherwise you're declaring some value and that might be denied or rejected. So. Okay, Sian, sorry if I mispronounce your name, is asking if you have remote international clients established before applying for the visa, do you still have to demonstrate the business connection of these clients directly with France?
It depends of the visa you're applying to. If you apply, let's say, for the entrepreneur visa, no, there is no need to show that your clients have connections with France.
Okay. Paul is asking, an article today stated that a long stay visa is going to require up to language B2 efficient. Well, no. Visas, they don't come with French language test. That I can answer already. So this is fear mongering. They probably have something to sell to you. Okay. Dewi is asking, I am retired. I'm being mindful of the time. I'm retired, but I wish to return to France and sell my fine art photographs and artwork. Is there a minimum amount I can make from my art? I lived in France in the 90s. Can my old carte de séjour help in getting a new one?
Well, regarding the old carte de séjour, unfortunately not. We cannot leverage it. But regarding the minimum amount, what you need to know, I forgot to mention it, but once you apply for the artist visa, you do not need to meet the French minimum wage, but 60% of it. So the threshold is lower.
Okay, great. Yeah.
That's a good news.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to okay, can you purchase a property to have a second home and rent it out as a long stay investing visa? Well, back to the question of not being a resident. But maybe you want to answer that.
No, yeah, we went through this point, so yes, well.
Okay. So are you able to hold a business in your own country, in this case, the US, and also open a business in France for the talent visa? There are a list of categories we can see somewhere on your websites.
Well, in reality, yes, you should be able to do that. Mm-hmm.
But there's no categories now. Well, a business is a business.
Oh,
So.
the entrepreneur visa.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Oh, you think you mentioned the visa for the categories of businesses. So that's like.
Oh yeah, no, the categories of businesses, it can be any type of business. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Valerie's asking, I'm looking at the micro-entrepreneur visa, so just entrepreneur. I am midlife and wanting a career change. I have considerable skills and experience in technology and feel confident that I could earn euros consulting in this area. But my true goal is to shift to a more artistic, creative job. And I will likely not have much income as I build new skills, products, network clients. I'd like to be able to do some IT consulting as I build my creative side. Any advice on how to frame that for a business plan? Oh, well, first, don't say that you won't be making much money.
No, but yeah, people are scared with the business plan, but honestly, it's nothing complicated. You just need to explain what activity you will carry on, how much you think you will invoice, what kind of clients you think you will have, what will be the investments or not that you will make in the company. So you can keep it simple, and this won't be an issue.
Okay. Okay. So Bonsoir. I have seen many YouTubers that have received talent passports. Are these considered under artists? Most of those people, though, are not famous. Is this different from what you were talking about being famous?
Yeah, there's really a difference. I think it can be confusing between the internationally renowned talent visa and the artist talent visa. For the artist, we keep it simple. You just need to show that you are a performer or an artist and that you're making money out of it. And that's it. So you don't need to be famous or brilliant. And yeah.
Actually, Jennifer is asking a nice question. When my husband retires in 2026, we plan to move to France and will apply initially for a one-year visa. Initially, we thought we'd apply as retirees, but I'd still like to work. Can we enter France via two visas, him as a retiree and me as a talent visa, for example? Or is it too confusing?
No, this is possible, but as long as one of the persons has a talent visa, the other one can use the family member of a talent visa. So this is a very good option because also you have a pluriannual residency permit after your arrival in France, and you have the right to work without having to ask for any authorization.
So you see, Jennifer, maybe you can actually fast track your husband through your continuous work. So, if I buy a property in Paris in the amount of 500,000 euros, for example, would that simply allow me and my family to have the talent passport visa?
No, we do not have any talent visa for investment in real estate. It's either in a business creation or a business that is already existing in France. But we have other very good options if you just want to spend some time in France with your family.
So get in touch. Okay, so we have a few minutes left, so I'll try to go through the questions I can answer the fastest. Katie, is it not possible to qualify for a type of long-term visa when income continues from owning a company in the UK? I have read conflicting information on this.
Well, that's not a fast question. For a long-term visa, if you do not have any company in France, any working contract in France, there is no need to apply for a talent visa, but you can apply for another visa type that you can renew on a yearly basis. And as we mentioned, after 5 years, you can always apply for a 10-year residency permit.
Yeah, and like we were saying a bit earlier, there's always more than one way to go. You can create a subsidiary in France, like so maybe a consultant type of visa, profession libérale, whatever. Might be the talent passport, but like it might be an overkill, or sometimes even other types of visas. So yeah, there are options. Yes. So that's why you may have read conflicting information on top of maybe having read some information that was wrong as well. Oh, this one is for you, specifically for you, Eléonore. Can a lawyer benefit from talent passport provided that he or she is employed by a reputable law firm in Paris with a salary which is quite above the limit set by the regulations?
Yes, we have a few clients that are lawyers, but be careful because you need to have all the authorizations to practice law in France. Yeah, you cannot register into the bar without passing some exams and having some equivalences. So make sure that you know and that you have all this beforehand.
Shaida is asking, so if you have a long stay visa but only stay less than 3 months, it is a measure of how long you stay in France rather than the type of visa you get. Basically, if you have a long stay visa, I don't want to be taxed on 3 months of income. Well, tax is about, yes, it's not about the type of visa, it's about how long you spend in France. So yes, if you're only going, that would just to clarify, if you spend less than 3 months in France and not apply for a visa, it's a bit of a shame because like you probably could have done without a visa, unless you're from a country where you need a visa to come to France. But yeah, you have to have been in France, like Eléonore was saying, 183 days or more in a calendar year as well. So yeah. Okay, one last question. Let's try. Okay, Lucinda is asking, we're buying a JIT business. Will this fulfill the 30K investment? We will have funds in the bank too.
Yes, this is acceptable.
So actually, but this is a very good last question, because Eleanor, you were saying you cannot use money to invest, like to buy real estate to get a visa, unless within that real estate you have a business.
Yes, and you need to be working once you arrive in France in your business.
Yeah, like a JIT, it's not passive income. It's like, yeah. But just to clarify in a way, it's a good question because it does clarify this position. Indirectly, you could invest into real estate if that's going to be a business as well. Okay, I know there's still some questions left, but we did our best to answer as many as we could. I think we should release in Eléonore. She's probably, a team is waiting for her for the apéro. No, it's 8 o'clock here. So thank you so much, Eléonore. Thank you all of you for attending this event, and thank you for all your questions. A lot of relevant questions. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll see you soon. Now it's time to get to crack this bottle open. Huh? Have a great evening. Thank you, Eléonore. See you soon. See you guys. Bye-bye.